Okay, so here's the thing about Google and their Tensor chips. Every single year we go through the same conversation. Google announces a new chip, people get excited, benchmarks drop, and then the disappointment hits. And now, early leaks suggest the Tensor G6 inside the Pixel 11 might be heading down that exact same road again. Let me break this down for you nice and simple. So first, let's go back real quick to the Tensor G5, because that chip was supposed to be Google's big moment. This was the first time Google moved to TSMC, which is the same factory that makes Apple's A-series chips, the same place that builds the silicon inside the most powerful phones on the planet. So naturally, people thought, okay, this is it. Google is finally stepping up. The Pixel is finally going to go punch for punch with the iPhone and the Snapdragon flagships. Then the benchmarks came out, and the Tensor G5 was getting beaten, not just with the latest chips, but in some comparisons it was being outperformed by chips that are nearly 6 years old. We're talking the A14 Bionic from the iPhone 12 Pro Max era. That's the chip from 2020. For a brand new 2025 Android flagship to be struggling against that's rough. That's really rough. So now the Tensor G6 leaks are starting to surface, and a Geekbench listing just popped up for a device codenamed Google Kodiak, which is basically everyone's way of saying this is the Pixel 11. And here's what the listing shows. The Tensor G6 has a 7-core CPU, not 8, 7. The layout looks like this: one super powerful prime core running at a high clock speed, 4 performance cores, and 2 efficiency cores. On paper, that prime core sounds great. Higher clock speed means faster app launches, snappier UI, better single-core tasks. That part is fine. But the problem is that 7-core number. Because right now, basically every flagship chip from Apple and Qualcomm are running 8 cores, and some are doing even more than that. Dropping a core doesn't just look bad on a spec sheet, it actually matters in real life. Gaming, video editing, multitasking, heavy AI processing, computational photography, all of that stuff depends on strong multi-core performance. And if you've got one fewer core than everybody else, those multi-core scores are going to take a hit, and people will notice. Now, here's where it gets interesting though, because at the same time, the Tensor G6 is rumored to be built on TSMC's 2nm process. And if that's true, that's actually a really big deal. A 2nm chip should mean better power efficiency, better thermal management, higher performance ceilings, all the good stuff. So you've got this situation where the manufacturing process is cutting edge, but the core count is going down, and that combination just doesn't make sense on the surface. So what's actually going on here? The most likely explanation is something called chip binning, and this sounds complicated, but it's really not. Basically, when chip factories make processors, not every single chip comes out perfect. Some perform better than others, so they sort them. The best ones go into premium devices, and the slightly lower performing ones go into cheaper or base models. This saves money, especially when you're using expensive new manufacturing technology like 2nm wafers. So the theory here is that this 7-core Tensor G6 might be a binned chip specifically for the base Pixel 11, while the Pixel 11 Pro, 11 Pro XL, or Pixel 11 Fold might get the full 8-core version. That would actually make some sense as a business move, but it still comes with a big risk, because consumers today are smart. People look up benchmarks, people compare chips, and when someone picks up a Pixel 11 and starts comparing it side by side with a Snapdragon Elite device or the latest iPhone chip, if the numbers look bad, the reputation takes a hit. Simple as that. And this is Google's whole problem in a nutshell. Their strength has always been the software, the AI features, the camera processing, real-time translation, voice recognition, smart photo editing. All that good stuff runs beautifully on Tensor chips, because Tensor was designed for machine learning and on-device AI, not necessarily for raw power. And for a while, that was enough. People bought Pixels for the camera. They bought them for the software experience. The chip being slightly weaker than the competition was something people were willing to overlook. But here's the thing, that trade-off is getting harder to sell in 2026, because now everybody is doing AI features. Qualcomm is doing it, Apple is doing it, Samsung is doing it. AI is no longer Google's secret weapon, it's the standard. So if you're also falling behind on raw performance and your AI advantage is shrinking, that's a problem you can't just explain away with software. Now, to be fair, and I always want to be fair, these are early leaks, pre-production hardware. The firmware isn't optimized yet, clock speeds can change, thermal tuning hasn't been done, final benchmark results can look very different from what we see in early Geekbench listings, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But here's the thing about perception. Even if the final chip performs better than these leaks suggest, if the story going into launch is Tensor G6 only has 7 cores and trails the competition, that narrative is going to stick, and Google cannot afford another cycle of it's good enough but not great. After the Tensor G5's mixed reception, the Tensor G6 needed to be a statement. It needed to be the moment where Google looked everyone in the eye and said, "We are a serious chip company now." The move to TSMC's 2-nanometer process was supposed to be that moment. But if these leaks are accurate, it looks like Google might still be choosing cost control and AI specialization over going all in on performance. And that leaves the big question sitting right there on the table. Will the Tensor G6 finally make the Pixel 11 feel like a true flagship, or are we about to have this same conversation again in 6 months when the reviews drop? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you still a Pixel believer, or has Google lost you on the chip side of things? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.